So winter is hitting very, very hard in northern Canada right now. It was over -20 this morning back home. And I'm hearing from all kinds of people about the rising home heating costs, the pressure they're facing because of inflation, and the inability of some families to actually pay to heat their homes. So we welcome the fact that the Liberal government is announcing this heat pump plan, but there's a number of concerns with it. Given the cost of heat pumps, what they're offering to people on fixed incomes means there's a lot of people who simply will not be able to pay for the cost of installation because they have to pick up that extra charge themselves. If you're a rural resident, if you're a senior citizen, if you're living on fixed income, that extra $7,000, $5,000, $10,000 cost to install a heat pump makes it extremely unaffordable. One of the things we're saying to the government is we need a plan that actually works, that we can get it out quickly, that takes the cost off families so we are actually transitioning our heat sources. But the other thing we need to do this winter is we need to take that GST off home heating bills. I just spoke to a senior citizen in my region who's paying upwards of $200 on his bill for home heating because of the GST. That's something that people, particularly senior citizens, can't afford to deal with. So we're saying to the government, we're willing to work with you. There are some good ideas out there, but we need to put the issue of fuel affordability front and center in dealing with the home heating crisis that people are facing this winter. Say so?
Okay.
That's all I had to say.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question then. And so, how long are you going to be proposing this GST break on home heating? Are you proposing that this happen indefinitely until prices go down? What's going to be the timeline on this?
For New Democrats, the issue of taking the GST off home heating has been a long-standing policy. Jack Layton pushed this policy because we know that winter is hard for people, and people on fixed income, this is always an issue. This is about being reasonable. Why is it that the government is taking the GST on something that is essential as heating your home? So we want this off permanently. We've always said it has to come off. We support ideas of just transitioning to cleaner fuels and cleaner heat sources, but that's going to take a plan that actually works. So right now, the heat pump idea, great idea, but practically a lot of people can't afford it.
So this is something that you agree with the Conservatives on, and I'm not mistaken, they are also calling this, in addition to other things, but you agree with on this aspect.
Well, it's actually interesting. We tried to work with the Conservatives to get the HST off home heating, and they refused. Because their issue is they're going after the carbon tax. They keep trying to focus everything on the carbon tax. We don't believe that polluters should be given a free rein to pollute, but we believe that senior citizens shouldn't have to pay the tax on their home heating. So we said to the Conservatives, work with us, take HST off home heating, because then that'll help people on fixed income. The Conservatives refused. So we are fundamentally at odds with the Conservatives on their approach to letting everyone from big polluters all the way down not pay. We're just saying on the issue of home heating, it is an issue of justice. It shouldn't be, that tax shouldn't be there.
Can I ask you a couple of questions about the fall economic statement? We did see the government acknowledge that it needs to in some way respond to the historic investments that we're seeing in climate action in the United States, $368+ billion from the Biden administration. Did you like what you saw?
We've been meeting with the Liberal government, and we've been pushing them for a climate action plan that is actually about an industrial strategy that says they have to stop talking about targets that they keep missing and start looking at an industrial strategy that puts workers and a clean energy economy front and center. So what we saw in the fall economic statement is the beginning of building blocks of language that we've been pushing them on terms of the tax credit for clean energy projects that's tied to labor standards so that we can actually start to see what they're doing. Joe Biden said their energy programs are going to be tied to good paying union jobs. We've been pushing the Liberals on this. What we've seen in the fall economic statement is certainly some good building blocks, but it is not the industrial strategy that Canada needs to take advantage of the billion and up to $1 trillion economy in clean energy, but we will be pushing the Liberals in our negotiations towards the spring budget to actually have a fulsome vision that workers will buy into and the Canadian population knows that we're serious about the climate crisis. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to address you today because earlier this morning, the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party, introduced a bill in order to once again discuss cryptocurrency. To be clear, this bill doesn't have a single word that would protect the personal finances of Canadians. To be clear, this bill, again, on cryptocurrency comes at a time when we see Bitcoin has crashed 65%, a full 65% down since Mr. Poilievre advised Canadians that they could use cryptocurrency in order to opt out of inflation. Myself, government members from across the country have been hearing from Canadians about the importance of helping them through the current rather difficult economic times that we're seeing due to global economic instability. And so I find it curious that the Conservatives have presented no economic policy to respond to what Canadians are feeling and rather continuing to push crypto. We're going to continue to be focused on delivering for Canadians, delivering GST credit checks to 11 million Canadian households, delivering dental care for Canadian children, delivering direct payments to low-income renters who need that support. Personnellement, je trouve ça très décevante de voir encore une fois ce matin les conservateurs mettre de l'avant et encourager, en fait, dans une journée où les conservateurs auraient pu amener d'autres sujets, encore une fois, ils ramènent une discussion sur les crypto-monnaies. On a vu que Bitcoin a une crash de 65% depuis que M. Poilievre a conseillé aux Canadiens d'utiliser la crypto-monnaie afin de remédier à l'inflation, qui est évidemment pas du tout vrai. Et donc, nous, on se concentre sur les vraies affaires. Nous, on se concentre sur les besoins, les demandes des Québécois et des Canadiens partout à travers le pays qui ont la difficulté à joindre les deux bouts en ce moment. On livre la marchandise en termes d'abordabilité et on va se concentrer là-dessus. Je suis prête à prendre vos questions. Happy to take your questions.
Have you ever held any crypto investments or bought crypto?
Myself, I have not.
Okay, but a lot of Canadians have. I'm not interested maybe in having a discussion, at least in the House of Commons, about something that probably isn't going to go away, and people see a lot of potential with at least the technology around the blockchain.
I mean, I think it's an interesting question you raise. I do respond to every single one of my constituents' emails and calls, and so far not a single constituent has brought this as the major issue that our government should be tackling. We're focused on what Canadians are focused on, and that is the current economic instability brought about by the war in Ukraine, brought about by the challenging supply chain issues that we've seen since the pandemic. The real concern that Canadians have at the moment is how to pay or the end of the month. How are they going to make ends meet, which is why that's what we've been focused on. That's why we put forward several measures in the fall economic statement that are going to respond directly to that. All the Conservatives have done is to promote cryptocurrency and suggest that we no longer need a price on pollution. They've got no plan for the economy and no plan for the environment.
The Conservative leader was also talking about how we address the drug crisis, the poison crisis that we're seeing in places such as Vancouver. Maybe you saw his video on YouTube. He seemed to be suggesting that, you know, the strategies of decriminalizing drugs, creating a safe supply, haven't worked in places like that. In fact, places where, like Vancouver, where we've seen some steps being taken to that, we've seen some of the issues seemingly get worse. How did you feel about that video?
Well, firstly, I haven't seen Mr. Poilievre's YouTube video. I wish that Mr. Poilievre could stand in the House and perhaps talk about those issues, if those are the issues that he cares about, rather than talking about the opioid crisis, rather than talking about economic policy. He's talking about cryptocurrency. So again, Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives should use the time in the House to talk about real issues. It is unfortunate that apparently he's choosing to talk about things on YouTube and then coming to the House to talk about crypto.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Quand on a entendu le numéro 1 du CSIS dire qu'on avait besoin, que tout le monde avait besoin de la loi des mesures d'urgence, comment vous réagissez à ça? Est-ce que c'est un propos auquel vous adhérez à ce stade-ci de la Commission?
Bien, je pense qu'on a entendu beaucoup de points de vue jusqu'à présent. J'ai hâte de voir les témoignages des ministres le reste de la semaine puis du premier ministre. Puis on va voir les conclusions et les recommandations, mais je ne vais pas préjuger de comment ça va se terminer.
Quel témoignage vous attendez le plus à ce moment-ci? Puis quelle réponse vous attendez?
Bien, disons que le témoignage du premier ministre est probablement celui qui est le plus attendu. C'est lui qui est le responsable ultime à la fin. C'est lui qui a vraiment poussé pour cette décision-là. Alors, j'ai hâte de voir comment il va expliquer puis justifier cette décision.
Ça se justifie selon vous?
Tout se justifie. Merci.